Hi there guys, it's Wade McMaster here from CreatorImpact.com, and in this video I want to help you answer the question, should you consider hiring a professional graphic designer? So in a video I did recently, I mentioned that it's possibly a good idea to hire a professional for creating your visual media. Now you may or may not agree, or there might be a bit more to it that you're struggling to understand as to whether you should or shouldn't go ahead and hire. And in regards to a graphic designer, it's about creating imagery for your business. So you may be looking to improve your branding, or something to do with your image online, or maybe you just want to start creating images for social media to reach more people. So the question becomes, is it really worth learning these skills or hiring a professional designer? Well, I've got a few areas we're going to cover to work out whether or not you should be hiring a designer or not. So let's look at the most obvious points we're going to discuss, which is time, budget, and skill. And we're not just talking about you, we're talking about the designer, and we're talking about the project itself. Okay, so it's pretty simple. Everything takes time, and time can be bought with money. So you need to ask yourself, what do you want to invest? Time, money, or a combination of both? Because in order to complete any project or any visual, you're going to need to invest at least one of these things to get from the start to the finish. So my first question for you is, what is the return going to be on your time? So if you do a job yourself, you're investing your time into the job. If you pay a designer, you're paying for their time, but you're giving up money to buy their time. So you need to ask yourself, is there certain things like, what is your time actually worth? If you're a professional who charges $100 an hour and you can hire someone to do something for say $50 an hour, then you might find they do a better job and do it in less time, simply because you're paying less for their time than your time is actually worth. Now there's more to it than that. If you actually say charge $100 an hour for your time, and it takes you 3 hours to create something visual, then essentially it's cost you $300 to create that visual thing. But what happens if you hire a designer who charges $150 an hour, but he can do the task better in 1 hour? Then that's where you need to start actually asking other questions, such as, okay, it's not just my hours versus their hours. How efficient am I at actually performing and finishing this job? So you need to actually work out what the monetary value of your time is versus the money that you're going to spend, and essentially work out what's going to be more profitable for you. One example of this is I pay someone to mow my lawn. If I mowed it, it would probably take me 2 or 3 hours. And therefore, like, I charge around the $100 mark an hour, somewhere between, depending on my customers. So it's going to take $200 or $300 to do that. But I get someone who comes and mows my lawn literally for $40 or $50, and they will do it in 45 minutes because they're efficient, and they get a better job done than what I can do. I don't even own a mower, so you can understand now how this starts to become more profitable for me to simply hire someone to mow my lawn for me. That's just one example of how that works. And not only that, conditions are better. I get to sit in here in the air conditioning and have music going while I get work done. I get paid more for. So that's something to consider as well, is whether or not you prefer to do it or not. Now the next question is it in your budget? If you have a project that's worth a certain amount of money to you, for example, if you want to create a visual and you think to yourself, look, we're only going to make so much money out of this, I can't spend any more than $100 getting this done, then hiring a designer that's going to cost more than $100 may not work, and you're probably better off creating time that is less expensive for you to do that yourself, or simply weighing up the project and wondering if it's even worth doing. So considering what's in the budget for a project is also important when weighing up whether or not you want to actually hire a designer. But another question you need to ask yourself is there some other return on that project? Is it going to help you improve your image and increase your income over a period of time? It's not just about the one project. So you do need to consider a lot of these things. Sometimes you will need to invest money into a project, possibly even lose money, in order to get ahead and move up long term with what it is that you're doing. So weighing up all these little factors, really sitting and thinking about it, you will eventually work out a bit of a system as to knowing whether you should hire a designer for a certain project or not. Now the final thing is skill. You might be investing time, but can you make it look as good as what a designer can do? Can you have that functionality? Do you understand things like alignment, your choice of fonts, colors, and overall the functionality of what a visual does and how it guides someone to take action? These are all things you would have to make sure you know or learn before stepping on and hiring a designer, before doing something yourself, I should say, because hiring a designer can be expensive, but what you're paying for is not just time but expertise. So do you have the skill to actually produce what it is you want, or should you consider going to someone who has those skills and completely forgetting about the idea of investing your time? Because if you invest a certain amount of money on time and you don't have the skill to make it work, you could be completely wasting your time, therefore your money, when you can simply just dedicate a certain amount of money into the budget to getting the job done properly. So the purpose of the design needs to be considered. Is it something that's going to make money, or is it just something frivolous? Is it something that needs to grab attention and convert? Really think about what the project you're working on, what it is it actually worth putting a lot of time and money into? Because at the end of the day, sometimes you don't actually want to spend time or spend a lot of resources creating these things, and you might need to dial back how complicated you have the idea in your head is. One thing, for example, is on Instagram, people sometimes create these elaborate designs for quotes, and then other people have discovered that by simply having the text on a white background with a name on it sometimes works better for them. So you really need to understand, what is the design going to be used for? What's the purpose? It doesn't need to be as complex as it is. Really try and judge where you think that bar needs to be to make it the most efficient use of your time and your money. So at the end of the day, it comes down to that. Can you do the job? Do you have the time to invest? Is it profitable for you to invest your time, or should you invest money? And finally, does it fit in the budget for the project? Because learning all the skills, how to grab attention, doing things like, using bright colors and all that kind of stuff might seem a good idea, but actually getting the skills together to make all this happen can be difficult, and finding the time, finding the money, those can be two different problems depending on where you're situated and what your life or business life is like. So that's pretty much it. Really consider those three factors: time, budget, and skill, and see where you stand, and hopefully you can make an educated decision from there. So I hope you found that video useful. Just a bit of advice for people who are tossing up that. I know I've run into people a few times who wanted that themselves, so I want to create this video for you guys. If you found that information useful to help you make a decision, please consider liking the video. Also, if you have any questions, don't forget to leave a comment. I'd love to keep the conversation moving. And finally, if you want more videos, more tutorials on how to do all this stuff, please consider subscribing. All these things help support this channel and allow me to create more free tutorials and keep this information flowing through to you. So any help with that is appreciated. And I thank you for watching the video and hope you have a great day. See you next time.